Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Stock market snap, a 5-day losing streak. The Sensex reclaims 80,000. The Nifty gains over 150 points. Mid-caps outperform today. The big CNBC-TV18 exclusive. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das says festive demand paints a mixed picture. Firmly believes the economy is reasonably doing well. Remains confident of rural demand revival on the back of a good rabi crop sowing season. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive.
The banking sector and the NBFC sector at the system level, they remain very robust.
RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das asserts there is no systemic risk in the banking and the NBFC sector. Says measures taken against select NBFCs were in the best interest of consumers as they were outliers. Prime Minister Modi and Spanish PM Pedro jointly inaugurate the Tata Aircraft Complex for manufacturing the C-295 aircraft in Vadodara. This will be the first private sector final assembly line for military aircraft manufacturing in India. Ambuja Cements beats the street in Q2. Volumes grow by 15%, outpace industry average. A 138 crore rupee incentive from the West Bengal government bolsters Ambuja Cements' EBITDA. Sun Pharma reports numbers in line with estimates in second quarter. US sales come in better than expected. Lower R&D costs coupled with impressive global specialty sales and margins. The government's Consumer Affairs Department is examining Ola Electric's response to the show cause notice. Sources say the CCPA will correlate responses of consumers with Ola Electric's claims that 99% of the complaints have been resolved, adding that the authority is also analysing customer complaints against another EV OEM. Iran's military chief warns Tel Aviv of bitter consequences after the Israeli army struck military sites on Saturday. Tehran says it's weighing a response. Israel continues its attack on Lebanon. Multiple airstrikes reported in Beirut's southern suburbs. Trump and Harris campaign enters its last week. Donald Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden sees a packed house as he doubles down on its promise of reversing an immigration invasion. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, speaking ahead of Trump, refers to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. Kamala Harris campaigns in Philadelphia, calls it the most consequential election of our lifetime. Political turmoil in Japan. The ruling coalition fails to win majority in the lower house. Prime Minister Shiba needs to find a new coalition partner to form a government. Well, straight to the day's trading action. The Dalal Street snapped its 5-day losing streak, ending in the green today. The Nifty and the Sensex both gained over 0.5%, but they did come off their intraday highs. Nevertheless, recovering some lost ground for the Nifty after last week's sales numbers. 158 points higher. The Sensex up 600 points, 500 points higher on the Nifty Bank, and the mid-cap index about 450 points higher as well. Prashant is standing by to take us through the market action. Prashant, markets back in the green after last week's sell-off. What's the indication from here on?
Well, after non-stop selling, which turned out to be almost 8-9% from the highs, today, across the board, at least as far as large indices are concerned, you had a 1% rebound, 1% day on day. The Nifty Bank, the small cap index was up a little bit more, about 1.25%. The mid cap index was up about 1% or so as well. So, the Nifty getting up to close to important hourly sort of technical indicators. The Nifty Bank hitting and crossing at least intraday the 20-day moving average and then coming off a little bit. So that was the story today. I'll get to stocks in just a bit, but the two sectors which stood out, PSU banks, the index itself gaining about 4%. Across the board, PSU bank earnings have been pretty good. You also had metals as a space which stood out with some gains. Now stocks, large caps, Nifty, Shriram Finance stood out. Adani Enterprises was a decent gainer. And you had ICICI Bank which stood out with a decent amount of gains as well. Nothing spectacular across the board on the sort of stuff which was up in the Nifty. It was just that majority of the names today were in the green from the word go early on. Broader markets, advances outnumbered declines. It's been the opposite for many sessions in a row now. So Bandhan Bank was a 10% plus mover. Lots of these, of course, are just pure earnings reactions. IDFC First complete turnaround. It was down 5%, ends higher. IndusInd Bank smashed on Friday, came up a little bit. Yes Bank was a strong mover today as well. BHEL reported numbers, stock about 6-7% in the green. Poonawalla FinCorp, again, started at the day's lowest point and then sort of chugged along higher. We had the management of Sirma, EMS company, which participated in the upside. Dixon was smashed on Friday. It was up about 2-3% today. DLF, Laurus Laboratories, is up 10% in 2 days in a row. In 2 days. CDSL, Hindustan Copper and Arvind were some of the big movers, backed by volumes that we had in terms of today's session. On the downside, Indigo was the big casualty on the back of numbers, losses larger than expected. Chola Finance was another one. Valuations are a problem, and maybe at the margin, growth is softening a little bit. Disbursals were flattish. CG Power also lost momentum today. Voltamp has been a huge outperformer, about 13-14% cuts coming in. CMS Info, MGL down about 5.5%. There was Torrent Power, Action Construction Equipment, and a Craftsman Auto, which continues to sell off 4-5%. So, indices coming in with about a 1% odd gain. Broader markets also more up than down. Is this the makings of some sort of a durable recovery? I think that's the big question. And have we seen, or have we already made a bottom and the market now starts to flatline, even recover a little bit? I think those are things we'll need to watch out for. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the big global story that we continue to track. Tensions in West Asia continue to mount. The top commander of Iran's military has warned Israel that it would face bitter consequences. This after it was attacked on Saturday. The Israeli strikes killed 4 Iranian soldiers. Tel Aviv said this was in retaliation for the October 1 attack by Iran, which fired about 200 missiles at Israel. Tehran said it is weighing a response and will use all available tools to respond to the attack. Israel, meanwhile, continued its attack on Lebanon. At least 21 people have died, including 3 paramedics in Beirut's southern suburbs. Israeli jets also struck a neighborhood in the city of Tyre, killing at least 5 people and injuring 10 others. On to action from the commodity space. Crude oil prices down over 4% after Iranian local media called Israel's strike on the country's military sites as limited attack. Analysts said that the escalation in the Iran-Israel conflict would not disrupt supplies, and so we are seeing crude prices coming off the highs that they had touched. On to the earnings action of the day. Ambuja Cements up 3.5% after it beat the street in Q2. Volumes grew by 15%, outpacing the industry average. The company also got an incentive of 138 crore rupees from the West Bengal government, which accounted for half of its EBITDA beat. Pharma major Sun Pharma's Q2 performance met expectations owing to lower expenditure on R&D and strong sales from its business in the US. Net profit grew by 28%, beating street estimates. Revenue and margins, which were aided by a rise in global specialty sales, have come in line. Shares of First Source Solutions surged more than 10% in trade today. This after RP Sanjeev Goenka Group Company raised its FY25 constant currency revenue growth guidance to between 19.5% to 20.5%. This is significantly higher than the company's earlier guidance. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, First Source Chairman Sanjeev Goenka said the company won 3 large deals during the September quarter, adding that more large deal wins are expected in the current quarter as well.
In constant currency terms, it's about 6.6% above quarter on quarter, 22.7% over last year, same quarter. So that's a very good thing. It's for the company. This quarter, we had 3 large wins. And the coming quarter, we expect to have at least 3, if not more than 3 large wins.
Well, that's Sanjeev Goenka on the First Source numbers. Shares of Shriram Finance up in early trade after it reported a healthy Q2 performance. Over the weekend, the company witnessed an improvement in net interest margin and asset quality. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Executive Chair Umesh Revankar said credit demand was much better than anticipated, and this was led by rural markets and good rainfall.
6 months, the semi-urban and rural to have a better, stronger demand. We feel that there will be further improvement in our credit cost. We always have guided around 2. We should be able to maintain the current level or a little below that. And if you look at our gross stage 3, that also has been coming down, both gross and net, from 5.39 to 5.32. There is a scope for further improvement, and we'll definitely work on it.
Well, the new listing, Vari Energies, made a stellar debut on the stock market, listing at a 67% premium over its issue price. However, the stock then tumbled about 10% post-listing. The IPO generated a strong response from all categories of investors, especially institutional investors. The big newsmaker this evening, Reserve Bank Governor Shaktikanta Das, says the festive season demand has painted a mixed picture. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18 in Washington, D.C., The governor said he firmly believes the economy is doing well, with positives outweighing the negatives. The governor also highlighted that there was no systemic risk in the banking or the NBFC sectors, adding that the financial indicators continue to remain strong. He also asserted that measures taken against the NBFC sector were in the best interest of consumers, as there were some outliers within the industry that needed to course correct.
There are some mixed signals. The festival season, the first quarter, the growth rate was lower than what we had expected. Second quarter numbers will come only at the end of November. Second quarter also, there was some unseasonal rains in the month of August, etc. Some activities got affected. But even in the festive season, there is some narrative that perhaps the sales figures and certain things have slowed down. But what I would like to emphasize is that there are mixed signals. There are pluses, there are some positives, there are some negatives. But I think the positives significantly outweigh the negatives. There is no systemic risk. In fact, I would like to emphasize that at the moment, at the system level, the banking sector and the NBFC sector, at the system level, they remain very robust. The various parameters, the regulatory parameters, the various financial indicators of both banking and NBFC sector, they continue to be very strong. So at the systemic level, there is no problem.
And you can catch the exclusive interview with the RBI Governor tonight at 7 and 9:30 p.m. only on CNBC-TV18. IDFC First Bank reported a weak second quarter performance, missing estimates on profit and net interest income. Net profit fell 70% compared to last year, while asset quality deteriorated. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, MD and CEO V. Vaidyanathan said that the stress in the microfinance sector will peak in Q4 and then hopefully normalize. Take a look.
There are various estimates in the market. It's an industry thing. But yeah, certainly Q4-ish looks like it'll peak off, and our analysis also shows that Q4 it'll peak off, and then subsequently next 4 quarters it'll complete. These are only 2-year loans, so they all have a peak and they go away. But incrementally, I wanted to share with you that we are insuring a book with CGFMU. We saw this problem, frankly, way back in December of 23. Our data told us. So we started insuring our book with CGFMU. So already, every booking since January of this year is fully insured.
Prime Minister Modi and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro jointly inaugurated the Tata Aircraft Complex for manufacturing C-295 aircraft in Vadodara. This will be the first private sector final assembly line for military aircraft manufacturing in India. The first 295 aircraft to be made in India will be rolled out of the Vadodara facility in 2026. Both Prime Ministers said the move would not only modernize India's defence capability, but drive technological development. Take a look.
आज से हम भारत और स्पेन की पार्टनरशिप को नई दिशा दे रहे हैं। हम C-295 ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट के प्रोडक्शन की फैक्ट्री का शुभारंभ कर रहे हैं। ये फैक्ट्री भारत स्पेन संबंधों को मजबूती देने के साथ ही मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड इस मिशन को भी सशक्त करने वाली है।
The C-295 India program is not only about delivering essential capability to the Indian Air Force. It is also demonstrating Airbus's and Tata's joint capacity and commitment to India. The Make in India C-295 program has become an industrial benchmark, which is aligned to the Prime Minister Modi's vision of self-reliance or Atma Nirbharat Bharat.
Well, on to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The Department of Consumer Affairs is currently reviewing Ola Electric's response to a show-cause notice from the Central Consumer Protection Authority. Sources tell us that the CCPA is also investigating complaints directed at another electric vehicle manufacturer. Abhimanyu standing by with more. Abhimanyu, take us through what the consumer watchdog intends to examine.
The Department of Consumer Affairs is critically examining the response to a show cause notice by Ola Electric. The show cause notice was issued by the CCPA to the company. In response, the company had said that over 99% of complaints which were forwarded to it by the consumer protection body were resolved, and now the Department of Consumer Affairs is going to correlate the response with individual complaints which were filed by several consumers. It's also going to examine the complaints which were filed on the National Consumer Helpline. Government sources have also added that the CCPA is analyzing customer complaints against another EV OEM and is considering sending a notice to that company. Also, an extensive market surveillance is being conducted in the entire EV sector, which is currently at an inquiry stage. Sources have indicated that around 10 sectors, including the electric vehicle sector, are being looked at for major complaints. It remains to be seen how early any action or a response would be initiated from the side of the Department of Consumer Affairs and how the situation is going to pan out in near future.
Abhimanyu, many thanks. Now, the All India Cabin Crew Association has called Air India's proposal to provide sharing of rooms for its cabin crew illegal. In a letter to the Chief Labour Commissioner, the Cabin Crew Association has urged the ministry to stall the move and deemed the proposal a violation of global aviation regulatory norms. Danish joins us now with the details. Danish, take us through what the bone of contention is.
Well, the All India Cabin Crew Association or the AICCA has written to the Chief Labour Commissioner on Air India's proposal of sharing rooms of cabin crew. As per Air India's proposal, which is supposed to come into effect from 1st of December, cabin crew members will be required to share rooms during layovers except for certain cabin executives and those that are operating on ultra-long-haul flights. The AICCA has said that this proposal is a violation of the status quo as the matter is pending at the National Industrial Tribunal and in violation to previous judgments of the Bombay High Court and the Supreme Court. The association also highlighted its dissatisfaction, calling this a unilateral proposal which is illegal and bad in law on multiple fronts. AICCA said that the step by Air India is in violation of aviation regulatory norms by global bodies like FAA, ICAO, CA and EASA, and this is also not in sync with the DGCA norms. AICCA said that this particular violation is coming at that point of time when the proceedings are pending in front of the Supreme Court, and hence they said that this is a clear breach of safety norms, and this added fatigue through room sharing will not be good for the cabin crew. Very lastly, the association said that to make a cabin crew member share a room while on flights prior to operating to their next flight would cause havoc in the mismatched rest periods, and hence they are awaiting some kind of relief from the Chief of Labour Commissioner.
All right, Danish, appreciate you joining us. That is the latest there from Air India. Well, moving now to a break, we will look at the US elections. It's Trump versus Harris as the campaign enters its last week. That and more when we get back. Well, 24 hours to go for the deadline to file nominations in the battle for Maharashtra. The state will vote in a single phase on the 20th of November. The two major alliances still finalizing seat-sharing agreements. The BJP has released a third list of candidates, bringing its tally to 146. The Mahayuti alliance has nominated candidates to 249 out of the 288 seats so far. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde filed his nomination. He will contest against UBT's candidate Kedar Dige. Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar filing his nomination from Baramati, where it will be a battle within the Pawar family. Ajit Pawar will be up against his nephew Yugindra Pawar. Aditya Thackeray will take on Milind Deora in the battle for Mumbai's Worli constituency. Speaking to Network 18, Thackeray made a case for his father Uddhav Thackeray to return as chief minister, but he also added that this battle is about the future of the state and not about the post itself.
This is not a personal battle. Had it been a personal battle, we could have either chosen to be fighting as we are fighting today, or we could have done something else, aside from politics. What is crucial is our state, Maharashtra. Maharashtra is facing the biggest challenge of its time as we see today. The BJP-supported Eknath Shinde government here is absolutely corrupt, clueless, incapable, and is destroying Maharashtra, is looting Maharashtra.
Well, that's Aditya Thackeray. Political turmoil in Japan. The ruling coalition fails to win a majority in the lower house. Prime Minister Ishiba needs to find a new coalition partner to form a government. So an uncertainty hangs over the proceedings in Japan. With less than a week left for the US presidential election, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris sprinting to make their final pitches to voters. Trump held a large rally at a packed house in New York's Madison Square Garden, promised to launch the largest deportation program in the history of America if he becomes president. His rally was backed by high-profile individuals, including the world's richest person, Elon Musk. Trump's rally drew immense criticism, especially after a comedian called Puerto Rico floating island of garbage. The former president's comments led to Puerto Rican stars Bad Bunny, Ricky Martin throwing their hats in support of Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. She's been campaigning in the swing state of Pennsylvania. Speaking at a rally in Philadelphia on Sunday, she accused Trump of waging a selfish campaign of vengeance.
November 5th, 2024, 9 days from now, will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be Liberation Day. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country. And I will bring back the American dream. We need the American dream.
Here in Pennsylvania right now, each of us has an opportunity to make a difference. Because in this moment, we do face a real question. What kind of country do we want to live in? That's before us right now. What kind of country do we want for our children and our grandchildren? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, justice, and compassion? I accept your nomination.
We're going to win Arizona. We're going to defeat Kamala Harris.
It's the election verdict the world is watching. Will Donald Trump reclaim the White House and become the oldest president to be sworn in?
How will this US election impact global trade and inflation?
Will Kamala Harris make history, becoming the first woman president of the United States of America?
How will the next US president deal with geopolitical volatility? What next for the India-US relationship, the most defining partnership of the 21st century? Watch CNBC TV18 for the best newsmakers and the sharpest analysis.
We bring you all the action live right here on CNBC TV18. So do tune in to us every weeknight starting today as we double down on the US elections. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right after this short break. Stay tuned.